Welcome back to our channel. If you've not already checked out our July video on inflammation, I recommend that you do so. In that video, I get into what inflammation is, I tell you about the process, what hinders the process, and I introduce you to an acronym called STAIN. In the next several videos, we're going to break down that acronym and focus on each part of it. In today's video, we're going to focus on the S, which stands for stress. I like the Webster Dictionary definition of stress. They define that as a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and may be a factor in disease. That is so true. Many of our chronic diseases out there are in part being fueled by underlying inflammation. Now, when it comes to stress, I want you to think about it in 4 quadrants. The first quadrant would be loss of something. Maybe it's a sense of loss of control, which often you can equate to overwhelm. It may be a loss of a loved one, of a home or a job. So there's quadrant number 1. Quadrant number 2 is circadian disruption. This can come from shift work, from traveling to different time zones, daylight savings, caffeine, sleep apnea, so many things on that one. Quadrant number 3 is glycemic dysregulation. Now, this might come about if you have insulin resistance or diabetes, but you don't actually have to have either one of those to have glycemic dysregulation. This can come about from stress eating. It can come about from your meal timings, from not moving your body very much, from being too sedentary, from making poor food choices. So that's quadrant 3. Quadrant number 4 is inflammation. That's right. Inflammation in itself promotes stress in the body, and stress in return promotes inflammation. It's kind of a vicious cycle. I want to give you 5 tips that will touch various aspects of each quadrant on things that you can do to reduce your overall stress level in hopes of reducing your chronic inflammation. So tip number 1 is focusing on what's within your control. So when you think about the things that are causing you stress, if a person comes to mind, cross them off the list, because another person is not within your control. Here are the things that are within your control: your thoughts, your emotional responses, and your actions. Those are the things to focus on, and focus on the ways that you can improve upon each one and grow from each one. If it's a struggle for you, I know I've been here myself, especially when it came to emotional responses from a history of trauma. If that is true for you, seeking help may be needed and can be greatly beneficial. Tip number 2 is practicing gratitude. This is such a beautiful practice. I want you to not only think about things that you're grateful for, but I want you to speak them out loud. I want you to write them down. Engage as many of your senses as you can with this one. If it's a real struggle for you, start out with one thing. It might be the sun is shining today. It might be that I have clean water, or I have food in my fridge, or I have a roof over my head. Start out with whatever is true for you that you are grateful for, and then build upon that. This one's a slow builder. It will take time, but in time you will see the benefits of practicing gratitude, and I encourage you to do it daily. Tip number 3 is reduce or eliminate your caffeine. Yes, I know this one can be a tough one. So many of us are either emotionally tied to it or we're physically dependent upon it. Both of those things can be broken if desired. So a way to start breaking this particular habit is, if you're going to have, say, coffee, have it after a meal. Make it be the dessert of that meal. Have high fat in the meal that you have, and then have your caffeine. Other things you can do is weaken your caffeine consumption. Maybe add some more water or other types of things. Replace it with something else that may taste good to you, like adding fruit or herbs into your water, drinking herbal tea, bone broth, things along those lines. Reduce when you drink it. So if you drink it throughout all day, maybe replace, starting in the evening time, replace that caffeine consumption with something else. And then once you're feeling more confident with that, then move on to the maybe mid-afternoon time and keep working your way down from there. Tip number 4 is move your body. Move your body is in a lot of the tips that we provide because it's so important. Move your body. The best time is the time that you're going to actually do it. Go for a walk, stretch. This is going to help in various areas, including, well, all of them really, but including glycemic dysregulation, inflammation, circadian disruption. The best way for circadian disruption to reduce that stressor is walk first thing in the morning and get sunlight. You want that morning light, so don't wear your sunglasses unless you absolutely have to, but begin to acclimate yourself to the natural sunlight. There we go. Tip number 5 is find the joy. It is within your control. It is your choice to find the joy or not. It's not something that can be taken from you unless you allow it to be. That might be hard for some of you to hear. I've been in a negative mindset for a long time in my life in the past. It's not an easy thing to hear, but it is the truth. The way you choose to think and perceive things is within your control. So again, that ties back to number 1. But find the joy. One way, or a couple ways that I find the joy are I like to go floating on the river, and while I do that, I love to watch the wildlife. Watching the little otters, the young ones play is like watching little toddlers play. It can be very entertaining. So that brings me joy. Those are just a couple of things, but think outside the box on this one. Allow yourself to be creative, involve other people, involve your senses if able. When it comes to finding the joy, I want you to put it into practice with things that do not have negative consequences. So find your joy in things that aren't going to make you feel worse down the road. So it's something that isn't physically going to be tearing you down, like chemical substances and things along those lines. All right, those are your 5 tips on ways to reduce stress in effort to lower your chronic inflammation. Remember, this is just one part of the acronym, the stress part is, but it's a vital part of it. If you want to learn more about other topics that we have, check out our YouTube channel. I encourage you to subscribe to it, like this video, and comment. I'd love to hear from you and what do you do to help reduce your overall stress, and share this video with someone you know that may benefit or who's interested. All right, guys, stay tuned. In our next video here in a couple weeks, you're going to learn about the role of toxins in inflammation, more importantly, tips on that. Talk to you again soon.